women wards in Iran, where motherhood and poverty are weaponized as punishments. My name is Farmand, founder and president of Children of Imprisoned Parents International, COIP, and the board member of the International Coalition for Children with Incarcerated Parents, INCCIP. Today I'm here on behalf of INCCIP to share my personal perspective based on my research and experience working with incarcerated mothers. First, I would like to share my personal journey in advocating for the rights of incarcerated mothers. Then I will give you an insight into the intersection of gender and poverty and its link to incarceration based on my decade of research, activism, and practice in this field. Finally, I will present my recommendations for change. Personal journey and advocacy. When I was 6, my mother was arrested and held in prison for 5 years. My grandmother was also in prison for 3 years. At the age of 9, I overheard my caregiver blaming my mother for her imprisonment, saying with derogatory words, "She left these poor kids and went after her own pursuit." My mother, a political activist, later told me she and other imprisoned mothers were humiliated by prison authorities who mocked them by saying, "You should change your baby's diapers." Years later, when I began advocating for the rights of children whose parents were in prison, I encountered many women facing the same gender-based stereotypes and social stigmatizations. These pressures were not only from prison authorities, but also from the community, including their own families and friends. When I raised awareness about the rights of the children of Narges Mohammadi, a Nobel Peace Prize laureate and a political prisoner, I received public comments and private messages stating she shouldn't have given birth to not only one, but two children if she wanted to be an activist, without even realizing that she had twins. This lack of awareness showed how quick people were to judge without considering the reality of her situation. I could only imagine how much harsher the judgments would be for non-political female prisoners who may be considered unworthy of being mothers. Since then, I have been advocating for the rights of incarcerated mothers while also protecting the right of children of incarcerated parents, even when those rights are violated by their caregivers or in-person parents. While I was in Virginia, United States, I attended a community gathering at the barber shop when a discussion about incarceration challenge took place. A politician and a lawyer from the Arlington Attorney General's office were present. After the event, when I introduced myself and discussed the struggles of children with incarcerated parents, the lawyer told me, if a mother commits a crime, she no longer has the right to be a mother. Despite knowing that no law explicitly support this view, she understood her power and that of her profession in creating practical obstacles for incarcerated mothers to parent their children. Women prisoners, regardless of where they are incarcerated, face challenge deeply intertwined with their socioeconomic class and ethnicity. This reality became evident through my decade-long research on the condition of children living with their incarcerated mothers in Iranian prisons, where they legally can stay in prison up to the age of 6. The intersection of poverty, gender, and incarceration. Since 2015, I have been monitoring and researching the condition of children and their mothers in Iranian prisons, often without funding. I have relied on open source information, social reports and testimonies, some published in Iranian newspapers, but most shared on social media or by human rights organizations in the diaspora, including those run by activists and journalists who have left Iran due to political persecution or other forms of oppression. In 2022, my organization, Children of Imprisoned Parents International, published comprehensive research analyzing 37 women's prison wards across Iran. This study included interviews with eight formerly or currently incarcerated women from seven prisons nationwide in Iran, along with consultation with professionals such as lawyers, psychologists, and social workers. Since late 2023, we have published investigative reports on individual prisons, focusing on the lives of children there. To date, we have released 10 reports, one on a prison that exclusively holds women, and nine on women's wards in different Iranian provinces. Although my research primarily focused on children, I have also gathered information about their mothers, pregnant inmates, and their fellow cellmates. Official reports produced, funded, or overseen by the government or judicial system, along with the interviews and research finding, indicated that most of these women charged with offenses ranging from drug use and trafficking to murder, theft, and sex-related crimes are severely impacted by poverty. Some reports claim that over 70% of prisoners struggle financially, preventing them from meeting their basic needs, such as adequate nutrition, hygiene products, and diapers for their children. Linking their socioeconomic status to their incarceration requires systemic research. However, our finding indicated that one, abandonment and social stigma. Many women are abandoned by their families due to the cultural stigma surrounding female incarceration, regardless of their choice. This results in loss of contact with their children and financial support. In some cases, women fear post-release retribution from male family members, including fathers, brothers, husbands, or other relatives, which may even result in honor killings. Two, financial hardship and legal barriers. Financial hardship undermines due process as many women cannot afford legal representations. Gender-based discrimination compounded by poverty. Poverty creates barriers to education for many women, particularly those from marginalized backgrounds. In the prison system, this lack of education leaves many incarcerated women unaware of their legal rights. In some cases, they do not even understand basic courtroom terminology, a challenge further compounded by linguistic barriers linked to ethnicity and native language. 4. Lose of children and the patriarchal system. Mothers often lose their children to the childcare system with no legal pathway to reclaim them. The patriarchal system names children of criminal mothers unfit to remain in their care. 5. Prison authorities manipulating motherhood. Prison authorities manipulate motherhood to control female inmates. For example, a pregnant woman who had been requesting a sonogram for months was finally allowed to have one, but was denied access to the result, preventing her from knowing whether her child was a boy or a girl. This deliberate withholding of information serves as a form of dehumanization and control by prison authorities. Six, the hypocrisy of state-led prisoner release campaigns. Judicial authorities reinforce the stigmatization of incarcerated mothers through state-led campaigns that selectively release female prisoners based on their maternal status. These releases primarily benefit women convicted of financial related offenses, excluding those charged with crimes that make up the majority of the female prison population. Pathway for reform and social change. Many mothers and pregnant women, given the nature of their charge, could be eligible for community service, house arrest, or other non-custodial alternatives. However, these options are not automatically granted and often involve financial barriers. Recommendations. 1. Prioritizing the best interest of the child must not justify violation the rights of incarcerated mothers. In most cases, protecting children align with protecting mothers' human and women's rights. 2. Non-custodial measures should be applied equitably and based on the rights of both mothers and children. 3. Addressing the root cause of women's incarceration, including child marriage, forced marriage, domestic abuse, financial dependency, and discriminatory laws, is essential. 4. Legal frameworks must explicitly prohibit the exploitation of motherhood as a means of coercion. As a children's rights activist with a feminist perspective, I strive to raise public awareness of the multiple layers of discrimination that incarcerated mothers face. By doing so, I hope society will refrain from further stigmatizing these vulnerable population and instead advocate for the rights of both mothers and their children. I highly recommend watching 7 Days, a film by Iranian filmmaker Mohammad Rasulov, who recently fled Iran and now lives in exile. The film follows a female activist on temporary leave from prison, faced with a challenging choice. Flee the country to return with reunite with her husband and children, or return to prison after 7 days and continue her fight. In one powerful scene, when her husband accused her of prioritizing activism over family, she responds, "If I were a man, I would be considered a hero, and no one would blame me for leaving my children." Thank you.